All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Farmland Hunter Podcast. We got a pretty good episode here today. We got Mr. Scott Zarefoss with us. You want to say hi, Scott?
How you doing?
So, what do you do?
I'm a director of a weatherization program for Tableland Services in Somerset. That's my daytime job. I also have a home inspection business that I do in the evenings, but if I'm not in the woods, that's what I'm usually doing.
Yeah. So, I guess we brought you on today to talk about turkey hunting and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, you had a pretty cool experience last year.
Definitely. Yep, for sure I did.
You want to go ahead and explain a little bit what you got to do?
Yeah, last year, one of my best friends, I've been hunting with him since we've been kids, Kirk Sherbine. He has PFC Outdoors. We had been planning for a long time. We talked about trying to go somewhere to get a Grand Slam. And Kirk is good friends with the guys from the Bearded Buck, the TV show that's on the Sportsman's Channel. So we were able to actually go out. Kirk and I went to Nebraska for a week, and Kirk and I hunted together, just the two of us, for the first 3 days, and then we went and hooked up with the guys at the Bearded Buck and just had a blast. It was a lot more difficult than I ever thought it would be on our own, but once we got with those guys and learned how you hunt turkeys out there, because it's completely different than around here, we all were really successful and just had a real good time.
I remember actually last year when you guys were out there, I actually remember watching like the Instagram stories and seeing like everybody out there doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
that is
cool.
pretty cool. What was it like with like having the cameras and like the TV show side of it? Like, what did that affect compared to like just going out with you and Kirk?
Right. Well, it was obviously I never did anything like that, so at first it was really like nerve-wracking. But then, after you kind of were with those guys, they're such good guys to be with. They just made you feel really at ease, and you kind of forgot the cameras were even around you then. So it turned out really good, but I haven't seen any of the footage yet. I believe the new season starts, I think, in May. So
that'll be cool.
I'm anxious to see how it comes out. Yeah,
that'll be cool. That'll be kind of weird seeing yourself on the Outdoor Channel.
For sure.
That's cool. And how many did you shoot? One or two out there?
I shot two.
Wow, that's sick.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, and the turkey purists will say that they weren't a true Rio or a true Merriam. In my mind, they were. I shot one with the white tip tail feathers, and I shot one with the caramel. In my mind, I shot one of each species because that's what Nebraska is.
Is that the
known for.
hybrid that we were talking about? Because we were talking about that the other day, and we had a question about that.
Yeah, so like in Nebraska, you know how you have your Merriams on like the western half, and like you have your easterns and stuff on like the east half, and they have that line in the middle where they can like interbreed and stuff.
Right.
And you get those hybrids. But so you shot a Merriam's and like a Rio Grande
Yes.
down in the bottom.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Have you hunted down in Florida yet?
Next year.
Oh,
Oh, that'll be nice.
Yeah, that's the plan. Kirk and I both have talked about it since last year in Nebraska, and we did good there. So we said Florida's next on the list.
yeah. My cousin actually just got back. The guy I was talking about with you earlier, Dave Miller, he just got back. He finished up his Grand Slam down in Florida.
Oh, great.
So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it looks fun. I want to. That's my next thing. I want to do my Grand Slam.
Yeah.
I've been looking at places out in Nebraska or Wyoming, South Dakota, doing Merriams. I love that white tip fan.
Yeah, there's something.
It's majestic.
They the birds there are so different to hunt. I heard your show you did last show you did about turkey hunting, about reaping.
Yeah.
And that's really how you hunted them out there. Kirk and I, we got our butts beat the first couple of days trying to call to them, and both of us have been turkey hunting a long time, and we thought it was going to be easy. And you could hear birds all day, but they were all flocked together, and we really didn't know about the reaping part of it that they do out there. And then once we got with the Bearded Buck guys, they that's what you did. You could call to them, and they would answer, but you really didn't call them in like you do around here. It's completely different.
Is that because of hunting pressure, or just that's the way?
I think it's just the way the birds are out there. Yeah, they're real aggressive.
That's kind of what I wanted to say. So I actually just saw something today. I'm not sure if it was like the National Wild Turkey Federation. They had these guys on and they were talking, and they said about how birds like the easterns, they can't rely on sight as much as out there. Out there, it's wide open.
Yes.
So those birds, it's eyesight. When they see that fan, they can commit to that. But here, these birds are in hardwoods. I mean, they hear something gobble or chirping or doing something. They have to go walk to see it to find out. They can't just look 400 yards away. Yep, that's a turkey. They have to walk over to find what it is.
That
out
makes
there,
sense.
they don't. That kind of made sense to me,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Yeah, because out there, like, how much timber's in that area and how much of it's, like, open?
It's a lot of wide open areas, but then you'd have these what they call coulees, or big ravines that had the timber in, and then the flocks would be huge. There might be 50, 60 birds because there's a lot of trees.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you did find a roosting area, they were all there. So it was so different, but it was a lot of fun.
I don't know. I'd have a heart attack if I got in there underneath of them in the morning and there was like 20 birds gobbling.
Yeah.
I'd probably have a heart attack. I'd fall over. I wouldn't even be able to hunt.
What do you think the bird numbers out there are compared to here?
It's a good question. Where we were at, we were with an outfitter that's real good friends with Jerry from the Bearded Buck, and they go a lot there. So we saw birds every day. We saw birds just about everywhere we went, but there was a lot of places that were private grounds we couldn't hunt on whenever that was just Kirk and I together. But I would say they've got to have a big population of birds there because there was a lot of birds around.
Yeah, I always wonder about that. I heard about state, we were talking about this before, but I forget where it's at, somewhere down near like Arizona or somewhere. The guy said about he got on this private ground, there was only like 3 roost trees on the whole property. Yeah. And he said there was like 50 birds in these 3 trees. He's like, everybody was trying to hunt them. He's like, everybody was underneath these trees waiting for the morning for them to fly down. And he said, that's it. It was wide open.
We didn't see any other hunters around where we were at, and we covered like a ton of ground. And the hunting pressure, just there can't be much, because we covered miles and miles, even in the car, the trucks driving around or where we were hunting, and never saw anybody else in the woods.
Huh.
So.
It's not like around here.
No.
Around here,
Yeah.
First day of turkey season, everybody's got camo on driving around in the truck.
Yeah, way different.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I always thought, like, the Florida hunting thing would be cool, but, like, you're down in the swamps in there. And, like, I see, like, they put the Crocs on. They're, like, wading through the water in their Crocs and stuff.
Snake chaps.
Yeah. I would see a snake in the water, I'd be like, or like a big spider, I'd be done.
So, when did you start turkey hunting? Young or older?
Very young. I mean, there was no youth season whenever I was young.
Okay.
But my dad was involved with the National Wild Turkey Federation. They started the chapter here in Somerset probably around 1980. That's going to date myself a little bit. But I was involved with him, and a lot of, I'll probably reference my dad a lot during the show just because there's so many things that I've learned from him and his group of friends. But I don't think I was 12 when I started really getting hooked,
Yeah.
And you know what it's like whenever you get the fever.
Yeah.
But I'd say I was probably around 10 or so whenever I really started getting into calling a lot and being interested in it.
Yeah, that's about when I got started. My cousin took me out cheese. I just turned 12. I was only 12 for like a month, and he took me out, and I shot my first bird on the opening morning, which that helps. Like when you're young and you don't, getting to shoot something on the opening morning on your first time, that really gets you hooked.
Absolutely.
It helps. So yeah, ever since then, it's been just growing ever since, my passion for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
When did you shoot your first bird?
I thought about that earlier this week, and I think it would have been right when I was 12, but it was in the fall, and it was a real good friend of mine, Mike. My dad and his dad hunted together, and they would drag us around the woods all over the place, and a lot of times you'd be hanging on the back of their coattails. But I remember Mike and I were, it was up outside of Berlin, and it was in the fall, and this bird just happened to appear like in front of us. We didn't know anything what we were doing, and we both took a shot at it, and the bird went down.
Yeah.
So like he kept the feet, and I kept the beard.
That's
funny,
cool.
but
that's cool.
we still have the picture of him and I together when we were kids.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. What were the turkey numbers like back then compared to now? Like, were there a decent amount of turkeys? Or?
I always was lucky enough to hunt areas that had turkeys, and most of my hunting is actually done on game lands. But
That's cool.
We hunted, areas that just always had turkeys. But I think the population's way better now. I know the Game Commission has some things out that the numbers are down, but I don't think it's near as bad as what they're
people are
making
saying.
out
Yeah,
to be.
we were just talking about that on the last podcast. you hear about what the game commission says, and I don't think they totally know what they're talking about because they don't get out and they talk to the people in the woods.
Yeah.
They're just basing stuff off of numbers and estimates. They need to put feelers out, talk to people. Like, I've seen more turkeys this year than I have any year just in a big flock before they started to split up. I saw the most turkeys I ever saw. There was like almost 50.
Yeah.
And there was like 12 longbeards. That was the most birds I ever seen in a group together around here.
Right. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of birds just recently, and some big flocks, like you were saying. I mean, I think the numbers are good, at least right here where we're at.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're in a nice little area. I don't know what it's like across the United States. It kind of comes around every year. I said this before. Every single year around turkey season, it seems like across the United States, everybody's like, the turkey population is declining. Population is declining. I think it's just like a thing year after year. It just comes around. But so you do deer hunting as well?
I do. Yep. I will hunt with a rifle if I have to, but I really enjoy archery season.
Yeah, I love archery season.
That's my favorite. And my buddies, Mike that I talked about earlier, that we shot our first turkey together. He has a cabin right down borders on the game lands. It's his dad's cabin, but he lets us go there and hunt. And there's 4 of us usually go to his cabin every year for archery, and we take like a week or 2 off and just stay down there and hunt.
Yeah, that's good. So what kind of bow do you shoot?
A Hoyt.
Hoyt?
Yep.
Oh, man. Maybe we should have rethought this.
We got our Matthews gear on right now.
Honestly, I'm not I have a crossbow, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. I just get joy of being outside and doing whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big Hoyt. It doesn't matter to me. I'm left-handed, so at the time, whenever I got mine at several years old, it was the only left-handed bow that I actually got to shoot and try. So
I always thought, man, I'm really glad that I'm right-handed, especially with the archery world. Like, there's barely any archery equipment out there for left-handed people.
It's tough, yeah.
And plus, getting into archery, it'd be so tough because, like you said, it was the only one you found. Going to find someone else that has a left-handed bow to try out and shoot is so tough too.
Yeah,
that would be hard.
Yeah.
So, when did you shoot your first buck?
That I shot when I was 12. I do remember that, very vividly. Yeah, I've been very lucky, in hunting. I'll never say that I'm really good at it, but I've been really lucky at it. And I've been able to take advantage of the time I spend in the woods. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and you hunt game lands. What's that like? Turkey hunting compared to private land? I'm sure when you go out, I'm sure you're not the only one calling to these birds in the morning.
Yeah, it's a little tough at times. I hunt last year. I think I hunted every day of the season except for 2. So during the week, I'll go before work in the mornings, and it's a lot better then. Obviously, the weekends, there's a lot of guys around. The one area I hunt is very hard to get to. And not many guys go into it, so that helps. You can get away from the crowds.
How do your tactics change when you're hunting private land versus public, ground blinds, decoys, that whole sort of thing?
I don't use a ground blind. I never have. I have one that I might use this year if I can get my dad out. He's got some health issues, but I might go and put it up in an area where I can get him to, fairly easy. But on private land, I'm not afraid to use decoys and actually put a decent decoy setup. On the game lands, I normally don't, especially if I'm around fields and stuff, just because not that I'm worried about somebody coming in and shooting, but I just don't want to have people see there's somebody else there and they think, well, there must be a lot of birds here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I mean, if I'm down in a big holler or something where I know there's nobody around, I'll put some decoys out. That's probably the biggest difference. As far as my calling and stuff, I don't have a preference of how. I think every situation is different.
Yeah.
So you just play it by what the birds are doing.
What do you use? Mouth call, slate? What's your go-to?
Mouth call is my favorite, but I like a slate for the purr. And I really have a nice slate call that I got last year before we went to Nebraska, and it sounds really good. So I use both.
What kind of brand do you use mouth calls wise? Are you not particular?
I'm a little particular just because my mouth is small. So there's a guy here in Somerset makes some Bill Wagner game calls, and they just fit me really good. And he does a really good job with them. So I've been using his calls probably the last 3 or 4 years.
That's what we were talking about. I can put different. I've tried probably 4 or 5 different brands of mouth calls, and certain ones I can make sound perfect, and other ones I'll put them in. It sounds like I've never even tried it before.
Yeah.
Me too.
Like
Yeah.
zinc, I use zinc just because that's what works for me, and it just seems to work. Like I have Primos, I can use Primos, but I tried like Quaker Boy. I can't even. It sounds like a duck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even get it to run.
Yeah, it's amazing how different they are, and some are just really hard to use.
Yeah, I think it's your mouth has like a big thing, like you said, like the shape of your mouth, how you blow your air through your mouth. I think it all plays a role in how you can make one sound.
I got this call. It was like, I don't know if you heard of Top Calls. It was like at an archery shop up in Williamsport. And when I bought it, I didn't really pay attention, but I put it in, and like this thing was tiny. Like the U part, the metal part is smaller than other calls, and then they trimmed it down real small. So like when you get like I use HS Strut a lot, you put them in there and they're a good size, and then you put that little thing in, and you're like totally like it takes you like a minute or two just to like get like relearn basically a little bit how to like call with that particular one.
I've noticed even with my calls that I use, and I carry them around in my truck with me. Like I'm always just when I'm driving around, because I drive my wife nuts at home if I'm done home. But even with the calls that I run every day, it always takes me a good minute or two of making some really bad sounds till it starts flowing. So I know what you're saying.
Do you pick one when you go out in the morning and then that's just what you roll with, or do you have one you always like to use? Or
I have one that I kind of is my go-to, but there's actually 3 different ones that I carry with me all the time, and they'd all just have a little bit of different pitch to them. So there again, if the birds aren't answering to one thing, I'll switch it up and just see if what works.
Yeah, I always like to think of it like you hear a woman talking to you. Like some girls have that really high pitched, like when they talk, like, oh, that's kind of annoying. Then you have these other women that have that nice voice. It's the same thing to the turkeys, I think. That's just me thinking, but
the old raspy ones, like the old hens, I was thinking of like some old lady with a smoker's
cough,
real raspy.
Yeah.
What's funny about it is, you can. If you get the right bird, it doesn't matter what sound you make.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
You can be the best caller in the world and never, if the bird's not ready to come in, it's not coming. But
that's like the other day you called that one in with your mouth.
Yeah, I was going to set up a trail camera. This is the first year that I've really set up trail cameras to watch turkeys. I just like to get pictures of them. So I'm down here in this bottom, I'm setting this camera up. I look down the gas line, and there's a turkey there. I could see it was a longbeard, so I was like, I'm just going to sit down a second. I wait for him to get out of the field, but he just stayed there, and he stayed there. I was like, oh, maybe I'll call to him with my mouth. And I started calling to him, and he walked right across, jumped across the little ditch that goes across it, and walked 15, 20 yards from me.
Nice.
And then just walked up through the woods. I was like, holy smokes, that just happened. If it would have been turkey season, I could have shot him.
Yeah, it's always fun to see. I enjoy that. Last weekend, we were down at for the opening day of trout season at my cousin's property, and he doesn't let anybody hunt turkeys there. He just likes to have them around. But we came back at lunchtime, and he said, put a call in. He said, I bet there's a turkey around here. And as soon as I called, 2 of them started gobbling. So I sat there on his porch and started calling. I had my phone out, video, and they came right up through the hall, right behind his cabin, right up in the opening, strutting and gobbling.
That is cool. Yeah, that is cool.
It was fun.
Yeah.
How was trout fishing?
Not very good.
Oh, really?
Nah, I'm not a very good fisherman. I don't have a lot of patience, but it was cold,
Oh, okay.
But we go for the fun of it.
Was that kind of like, was that just where you're at, or was that for everyone? Or
I talked to a lot of guys that didn't do real well, so I'm not sure, but yeah.
The weather kind of probably played a little bit of a role, and it was pretty cold.
Yeah, I know nothing about trout. I've never gone. I went once, but it wasn't like really trout fishing, I would say. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not much of a fisherman.
Yeah, same here.
We'll stick to hunting.
Yeah.
So, do you watch a lot of birds? Do you videotape them? Do you do that?
I do. I got more into it now. I think the older I'm getting, the technology was never
there
like in the last couple of years. So now I'm kind of really getting into it. I have a real good friend. His daughter just fell in love with turkey hunting. She was 11 last year, and I bet she went with me almost every day before school. Like, she was a diehard.
Wow.
And I could not get her a bird. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the only thing I wanted to do. And the last week of the season, I located one in the evening, took her out the next morning, and I didn't even call to it. I just knew where they were coming into, and we put our decoys up. It was on some ground up by my house, and I didn't take my camera with me. And I just didn't think of it. But I had her sitting right with me, and the hen came in first. And I just wasn't thinking, and I should have just had her get her safety off her gun. because it would have been the perfect video setup. And this bird came in, and I had my gun. I had my second tag, which I wasn't planning on using, but I had my gun sitting down beside me, and it would have just been so great to have a video camera. If this big longbeard came in to the setup we had, and she went to take her safety off, and it just something messed up. You know, she was worked up too, and the gun made a real loud click, and that bird just looked and took off running.
Oh.
And if we had a video camera, that would have been perfect. But I was able to get the bird down. I reached down and got my gun and just went out and boom, I got it. Because it was like the last Thursday of the season. And I like, she was heartbroken, but I didn't want it to get away.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted her to see it. But it was a nice bird.
The only turkey, I mean, I've been lucky. I've killed 7 birds, and I'm just now 20. And the only bird that I missed, I was like 13. I think it might have been my second season or third season. And we were hunting on here on the farm. And we had a ground blind set up, had decoys out. It actually was the 1st of May. It was snowing. And this bird's hammering behind us. He comes walking up through, huge beard, is dragging on the ground. He had this big white dot in his tail fan, which you don't see very often.
Yeah.
Just a huge bird. And snow's pouring down. He's gobbling. He steps into the decoys. I'm using my dad's old 20 gauge. It's a Mossberg 500. Just not the best gun. The sights, those little ball sights. I like to have my red dot. And I pull up on him, and I shoot right as he gobbles. And when he gobbled, I shot, and he like sucked his head in, and you saw like the whole wad. Like my cousin was itchy. It like went right past him, and he took off running. My cousin's really good at calling. He started calling again. He started to walk back towards the decoys. I shot again, missed him.
Oh, jeez.
Then he was gone. And my cousin was so worked up. I'd never seen him so worked up. He was like shaking. He's like, that bird was huge. I was like, I know, I just missed him.
Misses are sometimes as memorable as getting one.
Yeah, that was probably one of the
yeah.
funnest hunts I ever had. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, it
Yep.
seems like even the ones you don't get, like you always learn something valuable.
Absolutely.
By it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the most memorable hunt for me, turkey hunting, is probably me and my girlfriend here. We were sitting last year, and I watched these birds all spring, from like middle of March till the first day. I knew where they were coming out. I set a blind up, put the decoys out there, and they gobbled on the roost, and then they flew down, and they have like a 400-yard walk to get up onto our property. And they were quiet. I was like, man, I hope they're coming, because it's the hillside drops off, so even if you look behind you can't tell if they're coming. And we're just sitting there, and I was like, I'll reach out with my slate call. I'll see if I can do a few clucks, see if I can get one answer. Well, I reached up to the end of the blind, and right as soon as I got ready to put the call to the edge, I saw this tail fan right beside the blind. And you can ask Emily, when the bird turned, his tail fan brushed the ground blind.
Oh, geez.
It was the craziest thing. Yeah, it was Emily's shaking her head yes right now. It brushed. I wish I had the see-through blind like I have one now.
Yeah.
You could have seen him. His tail fan brushed the blind. You heard it go. He walks out to the decoys, which ended up being the bird she shot. He's standing there at the decoys, all puffed out, bumping into him. Bunch of hens and jakes in front of us. I was like, just wait a second. I was like, there's other birds coming. We're going to try and do a double. We hear like 5 or 6 gobble right beside the blind. 2 step out about, 30 yards out to the right. They're all strutting. I could see the one was a double beard. I watched them all spring. So we're sitting there like guns. I was like, this way we're going to count to 3. So we're counting. It's not working out. They're moving. And finally got it lined up, and we both shot at the same time and dropped them.
Oh, nice.
That was the craziest
Did you have
thing.
your camera running?
No, I had it. I had it set up. I had it set up right there. It was even on and everything. But I was gonna reach up and press the record button, but that whole thing happened, and I couldn't even get it on. It would have been a crazy hunt.
Did you guys ever use the Tacticams?
No, I've thought about getting one, but I have a GoPro now.
Okay.
And I got a mount for it for my shotgun, so I'm thinking about putting that on. And I think you just got a GoPro.
Yeah, it actually came in. I was messing with it today, and I don't know if like through the Wi-Fi transfer, like I wonder. I don't know. I have to play around with it, but it's not as clear as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Even with the linear, but it's clear enough. But do you have a Tacticam?
I don't, but when we were out with the Bearded Buck guys, they use a ton of them. We had a cameraman with us that had, the regular camera, but they would set the GoPros up. Well, they put them on your gun, but then they would set them up on posts like out in the field in front of, and they had like so many different angles. It was really neat. We come back at nighttime and they pull up their computer and start editing all the footage and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I was amazed how many different angles and how they could sync all those together. And
how much of a team did they take out besides you guys to process something? Like, how many guys would go out with you and Kirk?
Well, when Kirk and I would go out, we had one cameraman with us, and they would mic us up, and they'd have to put the Tacticams on our guns. Jerry and his son Austin had another cameraman with them. And then they were with Blaine Gibbons was the outfitter, super guy. We stayed at his house. But Blaine was usually with them, and then he would put us with like one of his guides. It's like a local kid that was a farmer that would just watch the birds and stuff. Jerry and Austin tagged out real early, so then it was like all hands on deck for me and Kirk, and it was really cool because those guys are so great. Like if you watch their show, that's how they are in person. They're just down to earth, and they wanted us to get birds so bad because they knew we were out for like 3 or 4 days before them, and we struck out, and then they got right away. So they pretty much said, everybody, we're going to get these 2 guys birds. And
that's cool.
It turned out great.
It's fun when people, like we were talking about this, like Michael Waddell. It's cool when you see people in the hunting industry that are big.
Yeah.
It's so awesome to see them when they're nice and down to earth people.
Yeah.
It's good
Yeah,
to
we
see.
had a blast with those guys, and then we'd come back, and like Jerry, he likes to cook, so he's big. Traeger's one of their sponsors.
Yeah.
So he had the Traeger out there, and he'd cook, 10 o'clock at night, he'd still be cooking and telling stories, and it was just a lot of fun. It was a really good experience.
Yeah, hunting camps are always fun. Like we went out to Nebraska on a mule deer hunt in 2020, 6 of us, this little cabin, not even the size of this house. It was just really small, and we were all stacked in there. And just the trip out in the vehicle, and then like out there and the trip back, that was more memorable than the hunting part of it.
Sure.
It was that's the fun part to me.
Yeah, and those are the things you should, you're young enough now. I tell you, this is one thing that my dad told me when I was young. I was always asking questions, how many deer have you shot? And he's like, I don't know. But he when I was young, he told me, he said, you need to start a journal and just basically write down, not just for how many things you kill, but it helps you down the road as far as the wind conditions. Like I do it a lot different now than when I was younger. But I take and look back at that journal now, and it's amazing. I've been hunting 40 years, and you can really just, it's just a lot. It's neat. So if one thing with you guys being young, if you start doing that, if you have kids down the road or grandkids, it's something that you can always look back on.
I started
That is
doing
cool.
that.
That's a good idea.
I started doing that a little bit with maybe not so much my hunting part. I do keep track of what I've shot. I have a little photo book. Like I'll print the pictures out and I'll put them in this little photo book so I have them. But with my trail cam pictures, if I have a certain buck that I watch, I'll just write down every day that he comes in there, the moon phase, the wind, the temperature, all that kind of stuff, just to see. And what's crazy is I did it in 2019. I had a picture of a buck, and on July 9th at it was 9 o'clock at night, he showed up. And he had these squiggly brow tines. How he started, it was like the first week of July, so they're just getting started on their points up. And so he was hung around all year long. The next year, he wasn't there at all. So, bucks get killed every year. You don't hear about it. July 9th, 10 o'clock at night, he showed up way bigger, 40 inches, 11 points, same squiggly brow tines. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Because exact same, almost down to the hour, a year later, he
Isn't
showed
that crazy?
back up.
Yeah.
That shows you how, their patterns are.
Yeah.
They're tight to their patterns. Maybe certain bucks are different than other ones, but just a year later to the day, to almost the hour.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was the 9th of July.
Do you take the journal out with you then? Or just when you
No,
go home, just write
get home,
in whatever?
Yeah, and I got a little lazy lately. My son, whenever he was younger, he hunted with me, but he lives in Pittsburgh now, and he doesn't really hunt. He just doesn't have the time to. So I kind of got a little lazy. I don't know why. But, I don't document near like I used to. But I'll still write down, what I got, how big it was, the day of the week or whatever. So.
And we said, even we're starting to do videos for hunting. Maybe not many people watch them, but we'll have them forever. Once we edit a video out of our hunts, something we'll be able. I'm sure technology, knock on wood, should be around by then or still then. So our kids will be able to see it, and for generations, it's always going to be up on YouTube. We can always go back and watch it.
Yeah, grandkids can watch it on YouTube.
YouTube's probably won't even be around then.
Yeah.
I wish throughout the years, my dad and I both have said, man, if we just had a video camera, there's been so many neat things, and now it's easy to go out and video now. If they're smaller, back when I was younger, if you wanted to take a camera, it was a big,
Yeah. Hold it on your shoulder. Okay, I think I got it in there.
Yeah.
But there's so many cool things you can have on video, So yeah, if you can take it with you anytime you go, I'd be running it too.
Yeah.
I like videotaping in the preseason and stuff almost more than I like hunting sometimes. Like turkeys, I've been filming turkeys a lot, and I have a pretty good video camera, and I have a good Vortex spotting scope, and I'll put like a thing on there for my phone.
Yep.
The other morning there was a bird strutting. He was only 100 yards off the road, and he's so used to the vehicles. I just pulled off the road, set up my stuff. He didn't even care. He was just pushing a hen around. I got some amazing pictures and videos of him. You could my spotting scope at that range is good enough. I could see his spurs.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. You have that Tacticam, the long range.
Oh yeah, I just got
too.
I'm gonna try that. I just got the SD card for tonight. I bought the Tacticam Spotter LR. It clips
Okay.
onto your spotting scope, and it turns it into like a 4K video
Right.
camera. So I'm curious how that's gonna work out. I wanted to get it before this week because there's a little bit of nice weather coming, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I want to use it.
Yeah, this weather, man. Like waking up this morning, there's like snow on the ground. It's
I
like,
know.
come on,
It's crazy.
Like April 9th.
Before you came in, me and Scott were talking about how like the birds by this time usually like spring's here and they're always out in the field, they're doing their whole thing, but it snows and then it just sets them back, like you don't see them for 3 days, and then they come out when it gets nice, and then it snows again and rains, and then you don't see them for 4 or 5 days.
It's like they go right back to their old patterns in the winter. You get all excited, you start seeing them around, and then boom, they're gone for 3 days.
Yeah,
It'll be weird to see how the later winter weather has affected them, like this season, because last year it got nice fairly early.
It was one of our earliest springs ever.
Yeah.
The trees were budding. It was the first year on the first day of turkey season that the green leaves were started on the trees around here.
Yeah.
Usually that doesn't happen until like almost June. Like down in like where Emily lives in New Baltimore, they're like 2 weeks ahead of us.
Yeah.
And we were like right there with them, like 2 or 3 weeks before we normally are. So I'm curious to see if like maybe that'll help us. Like maybe the birds won't be quite as henned up. Maybe we'll be able to.
That's what I'm hoping too. Yeah.
Yeah. The first day should be, because last year was kind of rough.
It was. Yeah, it was
the rain.
tough.
I mean, a lot of Saturdays we had like 40 degrees and like torrential downpours, and they just didn't.
Hopefully
didn't come out.
Hopefully I have as good as luck as I did last year. Last year I did pretty lucky. I bought my first 2 tags last year, and I filled both of them within a week.
Oh geez.
So I only went out I went out 3 times. I went out 3 times and I shot 2 birds. So I did pretty good last year. I'm hoping for that same luck this year.
I don't like I like to tag out early, but if I don't, I'm never too down, because you lose how many hunts an entire season once you tag out, unless you go out with someone. But
I'm like that for deer season, but in turkey season, I usually only get the first week and a half, because with the farm we start planting corn and stuff, so then it's totally done. So if I can get one in that first week and a half, I'm done pretty much. And to be able to get 2, I was like, yes.
I usually take a week off. This year I'm taking the first week of May off, so I'm hoping. But I always have. There's a lot of people that I take out.
Yeah.
And I'm to the point now where I'm there to shoot a bird if I can, but for me calling them in for somebody else, I enjoy that probably more now than me even shooting one. Like I said, my buddy's daughter, if I can't get her a bird this year, I don't know what I'm going to do, because she's a diehard. And there was
crazy.
Many days last year I was like, oh, I'm just getting wore out. By the end of the season, you're done. And he'd call me up. He's like, hey, Kayla wants to go tomorrow. Are you going to go? I'm like, how can I say no? She's still going at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's going to go this year then too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We've been talking a lot.
Does she archery hunt, or does she deer hunt at all, or is she still?
She does deer hunt, and she's got a couple deer. Their family has a pretty big farm outside of Rockwood, and it's real good deer hunting there. So I think she's got several deer.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's good whenever you can hunt a lot and have a good farm.
Yeah.
I was lucky, growing up. There's lots of people that had to hunt public land, and they don't have a big farm, and they were asking permission to other people on it. And I was lucky, to have a whole farm to pretty much myself.
Yeah.
And I had to teach myself for bow hunting, because nobody else in my family bow hunts. So I was always out there by myself trying to figure it out.
It's good though.
Yeah, it is. It was a good experience, because now I have a lot more insight than some people do.
Sure.
So I learning from myself. There's stuff that I look at that other people don't even think about. When I go into the woods, I'll be thinking about stuff, and the other people are just I don't even understand what you're even talking about. I was it's when you think about 24/7, like I do, you can kind of, when you walk into somewhere, you're not an expert, but I don't know, it gives you that insight.
Yeah, I think there's differences of like, I would say different success levels of hunters is depending on how much they put into it. Like, hunting comes down to a lot of luck, but consistently having success, I think it comes down to a lot of little things, not just going in the woods, setting up on a deer trail, and
Right.
I mean, you can get lucky that way, but with archery hunting, there's a lot more that goes into it than your typical rifle hunters that hunt the first 2 days, and
Yep. The guys that I hunt with in archery season, I was telling you about that have the cabin, we all put like a lot of time in the summer. Of course, when you're on game lands, you can't put tree stands up at certain times. There's a lot, and we hunt areas that are pretty hard to get to. But trail cameras, we have trail cameras all over the place, and and we started in the summertime, and we're looking at them all through summer and early fall, and kind of have a pretty good idea what we're going to be looking for come archery season.
Yeah. Are you gonna go with? Have you guys looked at the cell cams at all?
I have not.
No.
No.
Do you have service? That might be something. I mean, I'm looking into them. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the cell cams?
I don't know anything about them. No, but I've never even. I bought this thing at the sports show in Harrisburg. It clips on the end of your cell phone, and it's like a magnifying glass. We're going to Wyoming this summer to Yellowstone.
Oh, that'll be nice.
So I wanted to get, because I have a spotting scope, but I thought that's going to be a pain dragging out on the airplane, and then so I got this thing for my phone, but I don't know. I haven't used it yet. We'll see how it.
I saw that guy there, and I looked out. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That would be handy just to drag around, like for us in the woods, just like when we're out dinking around, just clip it on.
It's real small. It's light.
Yeah, you
that's
don't
cool.
want to pack all your stuff and you're just out there. You can keep it in your pocket. Like if something cool happens and you don't have your camera stuff, you just
Yeah, and I have this little tripod, and it's almost like these microphone stands, but they extend, so like I'll be able to put it, right between my legs. Like if I have Kayla out hunting, I can, I think I should be able to film her just with my cell phone, but that's the only type of experience I have with a phone.
You have to let us know how that works, because that could come in handy a lot of times, because like carrying camera equipment in, I mean, we haven't done it a whole lot. I haven't.
It is a lot of extra, not really, I guess it is stress, but it's a lot of extra stuff to think about when you're, like, I have a tripod. When I carry stuff in for turkey, especially turkey season, because there's a lot more stuff I got to carry in, I have, like, my tripod, the decoys, my shotgun, everything else I'm trying to drag into there. And to have that stuff, like the camera bag, to have it all set up, like when you get in there, you got to set the tripod up, you got to get the camera on, you got to do all this stuff. You can't just sit down and get your legs propped up and get your shotgun ready. You got to get all this stuff, make sure your angles are good.
Yeah.
And it's pitch dark outside.
Right.
It's a lot more stuff to think about.
That's kind of why I went with the GoPro, because it has a good, I mean, I don't know how it'll work, but it has like 5.3K resolution, which is like really good, especially for a GoPro. It's like kind of crazy that they're to that point now.
Yeah.
But I have it set that I don't even have to turn it on. I can literally just hit the red button on it. It'll turn on and start videoing. So at the bare minimum, like, I'll at least be able to get footage of, like, because I feel like a lot of times the unexpected stuff is like some of the best stuff to
It
me.
is.
Like, so I don't know. I'm gonna try that this year and see how it goes. I'm gonna try the camera that you had too.
Yeah.
I was zooming in with that thing, and it is crazy how far it zooms in.
I like a camera with zoom just for screwing around, and like if you can see, like my camera, it has what they call a 60-time optical zoom, and there's the church that you came by when you were coming down. I'll sit up there, and I can watch across to these fields down here. And, I mean, that's 1,000 yards, and I can zoom it in like I'm looking at them from like 50 yards or 40 yards, and I can get good videos of them.
Yeah, it is kind of cool, and I don't know if you've seen any of his videos that he has.
I have,
birds. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I love filming. That's just my – if I can get one on film, like I said earlier, I got my buck on film last year in archery season. If I can shoot a turkey on film, like a good, like, full setup on film, that'll make me so happy.
Yeah.
Even just to get to see one coming into the decoys and getting the film, that'll make me happy too. Like if I don't get to kill one, if Emily gets to shoot one, that's fine with me. Like obviously we're gonna try and double again this year. I mean the chances of that happen are slim, but we're gonna try. But if she can just get one and I can get it on film, I think it'll be cool.
Yeah, that's great if you can do it.
Yeah.
What kind of shotgun do you use? And like, what's your setup there?
I actually just bought the new Mossberg 940. Just came out, and I just patterned it, but I have a holograph red dot sight on it, And so this will be the first year. But honestly, I can't tell you how long I've shot an old Mossberg 835. Being left-handed, there again, Mossbergs are one of the few that have the ambidextrous safes without the. So I kind of am stuck with what I could use, but I've shot. I couldn't tell you how many turkeys with that old 835 Mossberg 3.5. But this new one, it's a lot smaller gun, and its setup's really nice. So I'm anxious to see.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
What kind of red dot do you have on top? Like, is it a True Glow or?
It's a I never heard of it. I can't even tell you the name of it now. But it's this Mossberg gun's set up for it. It's kind of built into the amount. So there's only 3 or 4 types that fit it. And I didn't know that when I bought the gun because I actually bought a Burris and had to send it back because it didn't fit. And then I found out that there's only a couple that fit it.
Yeah, I use a Remington Model 870 Super Mag.
Okay.
Chambered in 3.5, and I have it's a True Glow sight came on the gun when I bought it, and it's like all camoed out and everything. And I've shot 4 birds with that gun so far, and I like it. I use Winchester Longbeard XRs.
Yep, that's what I use.
6-shot. What shot do you use?
6-shot.
Yeah, for me personally, I've seen the 6-shot. What it's done to the turkeys at like 40 yards. It's good.
Those TSS rounds they have now are nuts.
That's what they say. I haven't shot them yet. I just have so many of the old, the other shells that I've always used. But they say there's something.
Yeah, my friend from school, he sent me a picture the other day. He found some at a store. I think for like 6 or 8. I think for 6 of them, because they come in boxes of 6, right? I'm pretty sure it was 6.
Probably 5 or 6.
5 or 6. It was $75.
Yeah.
Like, that is nuts.
Well, isn't the thing with those TSSs, don't they, like, isn't it like a mix of the different shots?
Yeah, I believe it is, yeah.
Like, they have, like, so many number 7s, so many, like, 6s, so many 9s, and they pack them in different. That way you get those different ranges.
Yeah. They say, like, you can really reach out, and a lot of people are using 410s now, which is crazy.
I know. I've been reading a lot on those 410s. It's just amazing how good they shoot, you know, the different tests that they've done on them.
Yeah, like, they're killing birds out to 40, 50 yards with a 410. It's like, holy cow.
Yeah, I don't even know. I haven't shot a bird over 40 yards. Most of the time I like to let them work into the decoys if I can, but last year I was set up on a road. I wasn't even expecting the birds to be there. I like saw the tips of the fans, so I crawled back down over the hill, set my decoys up and snuck back, and they came up over and I started calling. Well, they started coming in, they got a little nervous and they put their heads up, so I was like, well, it's now or never.
Yep.
And I pulled the trigger and I shot him. He done instantly. And I ran out there, I grabbed him. I was like, I wonder how far this is. So I set him back down. I stepped it off. It was like 40 yards. I was like, oh, smokes, that was further than I thought. Like, he looked a lot closer than I was like, dang, he was out there.
Yeah.
I could I'm not sure what my effective range is. I should probably look into it. But I know, like, at 40 yards, it's dead on. I mean, it put some BBs in his head. But I should probably put targets out over that just to see what it'd reach. I don't know if I'd shoot turkeys over that, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to get them in close.
That's the fun part, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't always work that way.
He put his head up. Both these toms put their head up, and they were like looking. And I was like, "Yep, they're about to run."
Yeah,
like,
you can always tell whenever it's time.
Yeah, it's like now or never.
Well, we were talking. I don't know, was that last night or was that last podcast about how turkeys don't if deer really don't like blinds, but then turkeys don't for some reason doesn't process.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever noticed that.
Yeah, like I said, I've never hunted turkeys out of blinds, but I know Jerry and those guys from the Bearded Buck they have on their property, and it just doesn't seem to bother them.
Yeah, for deer, I like to have them out early because they look at them, they're cautious, they'll sneak around them. But my cousin, we'd go in some mornings, he'd carry the blind on his back. We'd go in there, we'd be 150 yards away from the birds. We'd set the blind up in the dark, get it all popped up. We'd sit in there, and the birds would fly down and come right into the decoys. And we were out in the middle of this one field. We were 20 yards from any trees just in the field. It wasn't there yesterday, and they didn't.
You would think it would look odd, too.
Oh, yeah. They see
their
us.
eyesight's so good.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd see us, I'll be walking 600 yards away. They'll take off running. They see a blind in there that wasn't there last night. They don't care. They'll walk right to it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Maybe because it's camouflage, I can't see it.
Yeah. I don't know.
What part of Florida are you going down to hunt?
I don't know. We just started looking into it. And, obviously we'll have to find an outfitter. And those Osceolas, that's the most expensive hunt of any of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from what I've looked into. I think probably the outfitters down there know that's kind of like the destination. It's the only place you can get one.
True.
So they kind of know what the market is. But we're not sure yet. I know Jerry and Austin were just down there a couple weeks ago, and they doubled up, and they were with a good friend of theirs. So I think Kirk's going to maybe look into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's a couple other outfitters that I've emailed. Just started talking to them.
What part is it? Like, what part of Florida do you hunt down there?
It's like more central Florida.
Oh, okay.
Like the one place that I just emailed, it's actually only like 30 minutes away from Daytona Beach.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe that's where they were at. But
head out to the beach then once you tag
Yeah.
out.
Be hunting them in like shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
It'll be nice to go down there and get away from this Pennsylvania weather too.
it would be. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to be down there now.
Are you gonna, if you are lucky enough to finish up your Grand Slam, are you gonna go for your World Slam?
I don't think. I've wanted a Grand Slam for a long time, but I've never, like going to Mexico, I just don't, it doesn't appeal to me, I guess.
I would like to, if I ever do get to do my Grand Slam, I would like to shoot a golds. I don't know if I would go down to wherever those oscillated
Yeah.
are. But the golds, I know there is some places you can find them in the United States, like in the southern part.
Yeah, I think like Arizona maybe
yeah,
or
man,
something.
down in the bottom part.
Yeah,
They kind of look like a Merriam's. They got some more white to them.
right.
I would like to shoot those. I would go for those.
Yeah.
There's lots of different kinds. So there's only 6. It's like we were talking on the last podcast. There's only 6.
Yeah, well, because I listened to your last podcast, and I was trying to think, as I'm listening to it, but I think you're right, yeah.
That's what I was going to say. The Eastern, the Merriam's, the Rio Grande, the Osceola, the Golds, and then the Oscillated. I think that's
yeah,
it.
I'm pretty sure you're right on that.
Does Canada have turkeys?
They have Easterns, I know, in certain parts of Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, Alaska doesn't have any, which we were talking about. I don't know if you listened to us talking about Alaska. I was like, I wonder why Alaska doesn't have turkeys. It was like the country up there when I was up in Alaska was like almost perfect for turkeys. Tucker's like, doesn't it get dark there? Like,
Yeah.
and like for like 6 months, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there probably is a reason. Whenever you were talking about that, I thought it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's daytime. Like, I don't know how, like, if birds sleep during the day, if the sunlight has an effect on that, but
Yeah.
that would probably be a big thing.
So when you go out in the morning and like you hear a bird, like what's your process to like bring him in? Like do you have like a set of steps that you usually go by or?
Not really. Like I said, I tend to try to read the woods more than just have a certain mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you might hear a bird gobble one time, and then it shuts up. So, is that bird killable? Maybe not. It might be with hens or something. But if I get a bird that's gobbling pretty good off the roost, I try to get in with. I like to be like 150 yards if possible, and just sit down and just kind of let the woods kind of wake up around you. Real soft, I'll try calling soft to start out, and then from there just wait and see what the bird does. Some birds, you read a lot of these articles and guys will tell you, don't be too aggressive, and then the next article you read, be aggressive, and but everyone's so different. But I usually just try to if the bird's reacting to some real hard cutting and stuff, I'll keep doing it. If they aren't reacting to that, then I'll maybe back off a little bit and pull my slate call out and just do some real soft, clucks or purrs with the slate call, and just try to read what the birds are doing. I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of guys make, or they're afraid to do anything. Like they don't know, and you're going to mess up more times than you're successful.
Yeah.
If anybody that hunts turkeys tells you they don't mess up, they aren't hunting them right.
Yeah.
So I've always had the mindset you just can't be afraid. Just go ahead and try whatever you think's working, and sometimes it doesn't work. Most times it doesn't work, but when it does, it's well worth it.
Yeah, that's what we were talking like in the last podcast. I didn't know how to run a mouth call to do like yelps and cuts and stuff, but I could do like a putt.
Yeah.
And I just did that, and all in a row, I just go burp, 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 and he would gobble every single time, and I ended up killing him just for doing that. I didn't know how to do a single other call, and that worked.
Right. Yeah.
And he was just a killable bird.
Right. You get the right birds. You don't have to be a great caller. There's a lot of guys that are successful that they really can't call very good.
Yeah.
But they're good. They're good woodsmen.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. Your dad, he hunted with a recurve the most of his life, correct? And
Yeah. Longbows and recurves.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, it's something I never got into, and it's funny. There again, maybe by being left-handed, I never really had a chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, he loves it, and he's made his own bows. He shot a lot of game with a longbow and recurve.
Yeah. I had a chance to talk to him over Christmas, and the stories that he had with the we're crazy, especially knowing what he was using too and the equipment too,
Yeah.
and how effective he was. Like that's, I mean, like when you have someone like that to learn from, to
Right.
take using the bare equipment. He's a woodsman, you
Yeah.
know. Like sometimes I feel like we use our equipment as a crutch, but he used the bare minimum. So
Yeah, and Dad doesn't hunt out of a tree stand, which blows my mind too.
wow.
So I bet you I could maybe think once or twice ever I've seen him crawl up in a tree stand, and they were mine, like a ladder stand or something I had. But he doesn't have one. He's never really hunted out of them. So most of the deer and stuff, he shot turkeys too with his longbow, and he's just behind a tree or uses the tree as cover, and yeah. So I learned a lot from my dad just being around, and I had a big passion for hunting from as long as I can ever remember. So everything was, an eye opener to me. No matter what, I loved just being outside and being in the woods, and it was a big help having him as a mentor.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't even know if I could shoot a longbow. I'm still learning how to shoot a compound bow.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
I practice like all summer long, almost every single night that I can, clearing up until season and in through season too. And like I'm decent at it, but nothing prepares you for like whenever it's in the moment, like you're shaking and like everything's happening. Everything that you learn kind of like out of your mind. And I'm still working on that mental state of like to calm down. Like we talked about before, like rifle hunting. I've shot a lot of bucks with the rifle, and it's kind of just like, okay, I can calm down, I can shoot them, I can get my. But with archery, I'm still getting that like, holy smokes, like the panic, and then like.
Well, that's one good thing about practicing the way you did, because then it just becomes second nature.
Yeah.
Because when you're worked up, at least you have that. Then that's
I've
good.
actually tried. My mom laughs at me whenever I do it, but in the summer, every once in a while, I'll just take laps around the house, just run and run and run until I get my heart beating. I'm like, and I'll just pick up my bow, pull an arrow back, and I'll put it at the target 20, 30, 40 yards, and I'll just swing one to see what it does. And like at 20 and 30 yards, I'm pretty accurate. At 40, I won't shoot a deer over 30 yards yet because I'm not proficient enough. But at 40 yards, I'm off to the side. I was like, oh, I can't do that, because if I'm this worked up doing this, that's how I am when I'm trying to shoot a deer. I can't. So I always trying to practice like in the real life situations.
That's great. Yeah, that's everybody should take that same mentality.
Yeah.
It would. A lot of guys don't ever practice at all. They go out.
Yeah.
And it's just not good.
Yeah, you have those guys that like don't even sight in their rifles or their bow. Yeah. They just go out there and they just I
was talking to my one friend up at school, and he said his dad, he'll shoot his bow one time before the season. As long as it's hitting, he's like, it's good. And he goes into the woods, and I guess he said he hasn't had any problems with it yet, but I just couldn't.
Oh,
Like I was shooting I was telling McCauley I was shooting in my broadheads for turkeys and the ones I was going to use. Luckily I did, because at 20 yards my arrow drifted like 6 to 8 inches to the left.
Wow.
Like just completely took a turn. I'm like, well, thank gosh, I would have missed the bird completely. It would have shot to his side. So now I got to go, and I'm going to use the broadheads that I use for my deer this year. I didn't want to use them, but I'm going to. I might go get some expandables too.
I was just going to ask you if you tried expandables.
Well, I was thinking about it. I don't trust them for deer just because there's so much bone in a deer and just like the thickness of a deer. But with a turkey, they're so dense too compared to a deer. I feel like they can really open up a broadhead, and you're not going to have to worry about deflection, I feel like, as much. Because, the only bone you really got to think about in the area you're shooting is like the wing bone maybe. If you hit a little high, you're hitting the spine, but if you hit them in the spine, they're not going anywhere, and you can go finish them off. I'm thinking about that. I just had those, but yeah, I really thought about, because then you get such a big diameter with, you only have, 2 inches, 3 inches on a turkey?
On a turkey, yeah, there's not a lot of kill area.
Yeah, so having a bigger broadhead would help. That's why I was trying to use those big ones, because I only have an inch cutting diameter now, and I don't know, there's not a lot of room for error.
Right.
I have expandables. That's what I killed my buck last year with. It did open up a hole on him, surprisingly. Like I was worried about that too, like with the ribs. I don't know how far apart deer ribs are. Probably like 2 inches, I guess.
I wouldn't.
2
I think there's a turkey right behind you out in the field. See it clear at the end of the field?
No, that was there.
Was it?
It's like
Was
a
it?
black thing.
It's
Yeah.
a black. I just looked over and I didn't see it before.
You know,
I
it's
thought,
funny.
Me and Brady walked out of here last night, and that was there. And then up in the corner, there's like this opening.
There's a stump. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if you peek up there, up in the top.
Oh
corner
yeah,
of it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked over. Oh, no, isn't that something? That's ironic. The black.
I've lived here my whole life, and every single time I come down here, it gets me every time. I'm like, oh wait, no, that's just that stuff. But like I said, like you only have like 2.5 inches between ribs, maybe, and an expandable like gets in there, and it say it's wide open, and it hits those ribs. I'm not sure like what it does, but it did open up like on his side. It did open him up a lot, and that's so I'm gonna probably get 2 tags. I'm gonna try and kill my first one with my shotgun, and then if I have time, I'd like to try and kill one with my bow. And if I have the opportunity, I'd like to try and shoot him in the head, like strutting towards
Oh yeah.
me. I'd like to try that. But if the opportunity doesn't present itself, obviously I'll try anything else.
Might have to do a Texas heart shot.
Yeah.
They say that's the most effective, on a turkey.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
They have like 4 pictures of like the different places
Right.
you can shoot, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I don't know. I guess you could pull back, like when you see him start to turn, you could and like pull it back, and then whenever you turn, just let one fly. But man, not being able to see him, I feel like that'd be
That would be hard, I think,
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
The other thing is like, I don't know. I want to take a shot, a frontal shot right at the gizzard, or maybe a little lower, because it gives you a little bit left and right. If you're a little high, you're gonna hit him in the head.
Yeah.
If you're a little low, you're still in that chest cavity area.
Just shave his beard off.
A little bit, yeah. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but with deer, I just don't trust. Like I've researched a lot, and there's actually studies where they have deer where an expand will go into a deer, go straight in the shoulder, and deflect off ribs and go straight up or straight down. And if you look at their blades, I mean, some of their blades are tiny.
I use a Rage expandable, and I've had other ones that I didn't trust because I've had some things happen. But since I switched to the Rage, and I mean, it's blowing big holes through them. Like,
That's what I use.
Put the
last
Rage
year.
in the cage.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I haven't had any knock on wood. I haven't had any trouble with them yet.
Yeah,
But they fly so nice.
Which ones do you use? Do you use the 2.5 inch?
2.5, yep.
That's what I shot my buck last year with.
A lot of people swear by the Schwackers too.
Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent does, yeah.
Yeah, the spirit of the wild man.
But Levi Morgan's shooting them now too, and he's like the biggest name in target archery, like, real big hunter, and he actually has his own broadhead with them now. So I mean, I don't know. That'd be one I'd like to try, but I saw they're called Annihilator broadheads. They were at the outdoor show.
I didn't see them, no.
But they're a 3-blade, but the way they're machined out, it's kind of like this, and then there's a hoop, and there's a lot of meat in the center of them.
Huh.
So it's supposed to go in and kind of create a cavity as
Sure.
it goes through. Instead, if you put like the thin, like expandable or even just regular fixed, those like when you cut through it, that skin can go back down and re-shut itself real easy. But their claim is when you open it up, it doesn't go back and it like deforms it, so it has more bleeding. They say you don't have a lot of blood trailing, but they have videos of them. I don't recommend it, but they have videos of them shooting deer in the leg, and it actually blew through its front shoulder and then broke its other leg, and just completely just left a big hole. They were shooting them in the shoulder blades, clean pass through on both shoulder blades with these things. So I think that's what I'm gonna go with. For some reason, my head when I shoot deer, I think like I'm real nervous about that front shoulder.
Yeah.
Because I shot a deer last year in the shoulder, and it barely went in. Their shoulder blades are so tough.
Yeah, there's a big bone right there too. That
Right.
if you hit that, you're.
A lot of times you're screwed.
And that's what happened to me last year. The buck I killed actually hit him twice. I shot him the first time and then I killed him. So the first time he was coming up the field edge, and I only had 2 windows, and he passed by the first window. I drawed back. I got ready for the second window where he stopped, and he turned, and he was kind of like looking towards me a little bit, like 1/4 but I was like, he's at 20 yards. I practiced at 20 yards religiously. I was like, I can sneak it in behind that front shoulder. Well, right as I like hit my on my release, I just touched it, and the second I did that, he turned and looked right at me, and my arrow was flying, and it like smacked him like almost straight in the shoulder bone. I was like, at first I thought maybe it like missed and it hit that in front and went back through a little bit, because it looked like I got about that much penetration. but I think it hit the shoulder bone and skipped in and missed everything vital. And he ran down through the woods. There was blood, not right at the impact, but about, I don't know, 10 yards, because he took some pretty big leaps to get out of there. And whenever we found the blood, it was piles. I was like, holy smokes, maybe I did kill him. And so I started getting excited, and we followed blood for 175 yards, and that just dried up and never found him. Tucker came out. My family, we did some great search and didn't find anything. And then exactly a month later, I shot him on November 14th and killed him. Which is crazy, too, because he's a tough deer. He was at 27 yards. I shot him. It went, I don't know, I probably got a foot of penetration. Went into him. He took off running down through the woods. And there's a little dip in the woods, and I could see him standing down there going like this.
Yeah.
Well, he fell over, and we couldn't see him anymore because where he fell, he went down over the hill. And we still waited because I didn't want to screw it up. So I waited like an hour and 45 minutes before my parents even came back on the four-wheeler. And then even from then till we took up the blood and everything, there was blood on the trees sprayed on the ground that had bubbles in it. So I thought, oh, he's dead down here. So we start sneaking down. And Emily says, there he's laying. Well, whenever she said that, he looked up like this. I was like, oh my God. Like, he's like 80 yards away. I was like, I can't shoot him with my bow.
Yeah.
So he gets up and he stumbles down through the woods. And then we get a snowstorm. Everything gets covered up. I'm a wreck. I was like, I can't believe this just happened. Next day we got there, he only went like another 200 yards.
They're amazing, though.
Yeah, tough.
Yeah.
Just so tough. Like, I think he might have been, in the video, I'm off to his right a little bit. So he probably was, my shot probably hit him at a little bit of a quartering angle. I think I caught it one lung and then went back into the liver.
Yeah.
And they say they can live a little while with one lung. But I was like 2 hours after watching him wobble the way he did. Like, I had it on video, too. Like, he's down there, like, wobbling, and he falls over. Like, usually when you see that, they're done.
Yeah.
He just wasn't. It was crazy.
How many deer have you shot with a bow or crossbow?
I have to get back to my journal. I didn't really study my journal for deer. I was more turkey.
Yeah.
How many turkeys did you kill?
Last year I shot my 80th turkey.
Wow.
No, I've hunted Maryland, West Virginia,
obviously
Pennsylvania, Nebraska then last year. But that was kind of like a milestone for me.
Yeah,
that is nuts.
And hopefully you got a few good years left in you.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit 100.
It would be neat. And like I said, now I'm to the point now where I still enjoy shooting them, but calling them in. And I don't know how many birds I've ever had in gun range, but I know like 1 year in the first 3 days I had some guys we were with, and we had 11 birds come in to gun range in 3 days.
That's cool.
And it was just one of those years where everything was working right. But that's what I enjoy.
Yeah. Do you go to put them to roost then the night before?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Yeah, I've never had very much luck hunting them at night. In the second part of the season, I've hunted them, but I've rarely hear them gobble much until right at dark.
Mm-hmm.
I've never.
I haven't. I mean, maybe it's just because of the bad weather we've been having this year, but I like to go out and listen to them at night. And I've gone out a few nights already when it was nice out, and I've watched them go into the woods. I heard them fly up, and I'll sit there, and then it'll get pitch dark. I'll do a few owl hoots, and they won't gobble.
Yeah.
And I know there's longbeards with them,
mm-hmm.
and then I just leave, and I can't go out in the mornings that often, so I don't know if they're gobbling or not.
Yeah.
I've only heard a few gobble this year. Last year, it was like every single time I'd walk out, it was like... Blah, blah, blah,
yeah, I haven't heard many either yet. I think the weather has to have something to do with it. I know they say the daylight and everything but just it has to have something to do with it, because I haven't, and I'm out all the time. Like before work, I listen. There's certain spots where I just go every day, and last year I could hear birds. My gosh, I think I started hearing like in March.
Yeah.
And all through and I just haven't heard them much this year.
Yeah. I don't know. I like roosting birds. I think it's fun. I've never had any luck killing one off the roost, though. They always just seemed like every time I did, they'd always just fly off the other way and then never come in. But I always had luck having them come up to a field. I've always had that kind of luck. I'd set up in a field where I know they're coming to, put the decoys out, call a little bit, and I've always had luck coming that way. But
do you owl hoot and stuff to them? Is that how do you?
Yeah, crow or owl hoot is usually what I try to do for my locator. Yeah. I really like the owl hoot. I think that's probably one of the best. Crows, especially where I hunt most of the time, there's crows everywhere anyhow.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that's effective or not, because the crows are calling anyhow.
They're so used to it, yeah.
every once in a while, like there's a lot of crows. Just the other day, there was like 50 of them back at our one farm, and they were all hollering and stuff. And every once in a while, you'd hear a turkey gobble. But like once they start getting real loud, they gobble. Like I've noticed, like sometimes I'll hear crows calling way over here, and I can hear them, and I know the turkey can probably hear him, but he doesn't gobble. But then they'll fly right over top of him when they holler right above him, then he gobbles.
Yeah, they soft gobble.
Yeah, I've heard him gobble back. Man, it was the first day a few years ago, and it was the one season I didn't get a bird, and it was like rain and downpour, thunder and lightning on the first day, and it was like the thunder cracked, and right before the lightning, you heard all the birds on the hillside gobble, and then the lightning. It was the coolest
Yeah,
thing.
they're amazing like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a turkey up in a tree during a thunder and
I know.
lightning storm.
I wonder how many turkeys get killed that way.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. I mean, it's got to be a certain number.
I'm
over,
sure
the
it has
entire
to
US.
happen. Yeah.
Especially out where you were saying where they only like roost in 3 or 4 trees. Like that's the only thing during
Yeah.
them storms.
Yeah, it's the highest point. They're all fried there. There's a bunch of drumsticks and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
That's like you see out west, like those cattle that get hit by lightning all under one tree, and it'll wipe out 50 cows all in one lightning strike.
that happened here in Berlin before. There's a farmer that lives out next to the one major highway.
With the ox.
No, this
Oh.
is they're heifers. They're heifers. I guess there's like a watering hole right next to a tree, the only tree in the pasture. And I guess they were all circled around the tree. The lightning struck it, killed a bunch of them.
Wow.
Oh, that would just suck.
Yeah.
I feel like that
crazy.
would have to happen with turkeys.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure it does.
Like there's a property over next to one of ours, our neighbors. The other year, he found a tree fell on a deer. He just found it right after the deer died. You could see where the marks were wherever he tried to get up. Think of the odds of walking through the woods and a tree just right on a deer.
I never, when there's a tree down in the woods, I'd never walk under it. Like
Yeah,
when they're
widow.
hung up, I just walk around it.
The old widow maker.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a fun podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been. This is really neat that you guys are doing this. I think it's great. You know, the technology is so different now that you can just sit around and talk on it and like let people listen to it.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the number. Like I was expecting like 10 views of video.
Mm-hmm.
I was never like expecting like so many more people to like listen to it. Like actually, like it's just me and Tucker most of the time, and like we bring on guests like you.
I don't know why people want to sit here and listen to me
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
hunting, but I guess it's,
I guess it's interesting, and people actually do like to listen to it. So it's kind of cool. Hopefully,
Yeah.
like we can put stuff on YouTube. We want to start putting our podcasts on YouTube because
Yeah.
YouTube seems like the most universal thing. Like everybody has YouTube. So we're going to try and put the audio on there. That way maybe people can listen to it.
Yeah, I appreciate you frequently listening to our videos.
Oh, I do. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to walk after work. I try to walk, and whenever I know you have a new one up, I put my earpods in, and I just listen to it while I'm walking.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I
that's
appreciate
much
it.
appreciated. That's so cool to hear like people like say like, oh, I was doing this while I listened to it.
Yeah, there's people like send me videos sometimes like on Snapchat. They're like they'll be working in a shop and they'll have like a speaker there and they'll be playing our podcast.
Yeah,
while they're
that's
working.
great. You guys do a good job of it. You really do.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
glad you came on. Someone a little more knowledge than two
Yeah.
19 and 20-year-olds. Someone
Like I said,
like
it's
you that
a lot of years in the woods, and I always say I'm very lucky. I've been lucky, so
Yeah.
that helps.
I'm excited for your episode of the bearded buck to come on.
I am too. You know, I don't know how much I'll actually be on because, like, I just saw bits and pieces of the footage. And the second bird that I shot, there was a lot of things that went on with that, and I don't know that they can use much of that footage or not. The first one, I think we got, and that was a huge bird. But I think we got real good footage of that one.
I don't remember. Did you get them mounted?
No,
No.
I have the tail feathers and like the breast feathers out and laid out, but the biggest bird, the big one I shot was the Merriam, and it had 3 beards, and it had one real good beard, and then the other
That's
2
cool.
like 5 and 6 inches, but the one was like 10 inches.
And Merriams
cool.
usually don't get that.
No, that's what they were saying out there. Like, and it had big spurs. I mean, it was just a really big bird.
Because Easterns are all around like one of the biggest birds. I
Yeah.
think like for spur lengths, like all that kind of good stuff. And like I think like the Merriams, I think their beards usually get around 7-8 inches long. Is
Yeah,
like the
this was a really good bird from what they were saying out there. It was fun.
Yeah, that is cool. So what is your biggest bird?
Beard wise, spurs,
Everything, like all around. Well, you can tell us your heaviest bird, your biggest beard bird, whatever.
Probably the heaviest. weigh them not on official scales, but 26 pounds. I have a couple birds that are 11 and a half inch beards. I've a good many like that. The biggest spur I got is inch and a half.
That's pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big. That's a big set of spurs on.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I've been really lucky to be around some big birds like that.
Yeah, I've never killed a bird with a beard bigger than 10 1/4 inch, which that's still pretty big.
Did you see all the beards I have down in the basement when you were?
Were they with your deer skulls?
They were, yeah, but I don't know if I have them laying out on the table. I've got several there.
I don't think I did.
Probably not. Yeah, I'll have to show them to you sometime.
Do you have something from every turkey you've shot?
No, I don't. And a lot of them, there's many jakes that I've shot in my lifetime, and that's the other thing. Guys get hung up on big birds, but to me it's about the experience. And I've shot 80 spring gobblers, and I'm not saying I won't shoot a jake, because if they're coming in and putting on a show and you work hard for it, I think it's about the experience. I'd like to shoot a big one every time, but I'm not saying I would never shoot a jake either, because I think it just takes away from, people get it in their head they have to shoot the biggest one, and I think that takes away from actually while you're out there just to enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how you are with deer hunting too, right?
Yeah. Well, and where we hunt deer on game lands, I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of pressure, and the chances to have like a farm raised deer that you can watch for 3 or 4 years just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot harder when there's lots of pressure.
Especially PA public land.
Yeah.
Like, have you noticed over the last couple of years, like more and more people coming in and hunting and getting in your area? Like, does it seem like more people are hunting public land? Because it seems like there's a big trend now for public hunting.
I think
it's cool to be a public hunter.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that at all?
Well, but actually, I've noticed a decline on the game lands that I hunt. It just seems like there's not as many guys hunting now as there was maybe 15 years ago. But I think the ones that are hunting are there a lot. I think they're more of a dedicated hunter than just the guy that goes out the first day of rifle, and that's all he does.
I think the hunting public kind of started that trend a little bit, because they do go around all the states and just hunt public land, everything.
Have you seen them at all?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, I mean, they have a ton of subscribers to YouTube and stuff. I think when people watch those videos, they're like, well, if those guys can do it on public land, so can we. And they've killed a lot of big bucks, a lot of turkeys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, if they can do it, we can do it. And I think that's kind of started that trend a little bit.
Public land's kind of cool too, because you're not the only one out there, so you can be a little more risky with your moves too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if you don't bump a deer, there's a good chance someone else could bump it too. I think those guys hunt, they go all in. They're only there for 3 days. So they're doing everything. It doesn't matter how crazy. They'll get right up into the bedding areas where, we try to stay a little bit out of the bedding areas to not blow it out. They're going right in, and they have some really cool experiences. I think those guys just hunt so hard.
Yeah.
It's every day they're out. Every day they're traveling states. When they're there, they're hunting hard. They're walking miles back in, getting in ghillie suits, just making moves that a lot of hunters don't. I think even I get stuck into just putting up a stand and going to that stand. Some guys around here, they'll hang a stand, and that'll be their stand for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they just don't, I don't know, and the mobile hunting thing, which I think came off of the public land hunting a lot, is having a mobile setup to be able to move,
Climbing sticks. That's kind of what I run.
Yeah.
I have 4 climbing sticks with a platform. I'll strap them together, and I have 4 or 5 different ones, and I'll throw the ladders up and put a bunch of different stuff. Sometimes I'll carry a platform with me. I'll put different ladders up at different places. I'll climb up, strap the platform fast, and I hunt that way sometimes.
I got one of those platforms that are supposed to be mobile. It's like a knockoff Lone Wolf. And
okay, yeah.
It's called an XOP. It is the most uncomfortable stand I've ever been on. I see how it's great to just go in and hang it, and if you have the right sticks and stuff to hang it up. But it is the seat's tiny, and then the pad wears down after the first 30 minutes, and then it hurts, and then you're sitting straight up against a tree. It's not the best, but for moving around, I could see how it would be good, but for comfort and stuff, I don't know how. Have you seen the saddle hunting at all?
down in Harrisburg, I actually saw. I don't like heights anymore. The older I get, the worse it's getting. But I don't know how that could be comfortable. But
I don't like. I like the simplest thing. I'm not good with ropes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That confuses me.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the Boy Scouts or anything. So I don't even know how to tie knots very well. And these guys get up there, they throw the ropes around doing stuff. Like when I get up in the stand, I just like to sit down, hang my gear up, and I'm done. Like I don't want to be screwing
That's
around.
how I am too.
And like they're up there, they're hanging stuff, they're wrapping the thing around, I was like, that's so confusing.
Yeah. I was considering it. I was thinking about getting a platform, just a platform, and having the saddle, and then just getting a bunch of sticks and ladders. And that way just buying like the ladders and just put a bunch of ladders in pre-hung sets. That way in the morning, all I have to do is just stick that on the side of the tree. That takes like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Hop on it and then put your stuff on. But I don't know. I just think, like they say, you can get up a tree and be fully set up in 10 or 15 minutes.
Holy smokes, that's a lot of...
Yeah. And they say, I guess when you're just going out and you're setting up, but if you're tight to deer, I mean, 10 or 15 minutes in the dark up in the trees.
It's a lot of screwing around.
You know you're making noise.
Holy smokes. I don't even use a flashlight. Like, that's just me. I don't know if a flashlight really affects deer or not. Like, but I know where my stands are. I have paths and stuff made to get to them. And, like, I'll just go in dark, like, the light in the morning a little bit with the moonlight. I can get to my stand, climb up quick, and just get set up, like, mess up as little bit as possible.
No, like, I could see public land, how that would be good. Like, I hunt, it's kind of public out where, I live. And it would be nice because then nobody's climbing up in your tree either,
Sitting in your stand.
Sitting in your stand, yeah. Because if, you take the bottom step out in your platform, it just sticks. They can't really do anything. I mean, they could set their own stuff up beside it, but do you have any problems with people ever messing with your stuff on public land at all?
Knock on wood, not really. And we'll carry in a good many ladder stands because all of us are older now too. So the climbing stands, we kind of started getting away from them, buying. But that's just takes a lot of work. Carrying ladder stands in and out, and but most places that we hunt, like I said, they're not right by the roads, or they're pretty far off the beaten path, so we haven't had too much problem with it.
Well, that's good.
What about trail cameras? Trail cameras can be sold a lot.
Not yet. I know it's going to happen.
I'm a big. Are you like trail cameras a lot?
Oh yeah.
Trail cameras for me. People will probably argue with me. I think that is the best tool for trying to kill deer. For me, at least, I have 13 of them.
Yeah.
And I put them on 2 different farms, and those are my most useful tool.
It's fun to just go out and
that's my favorite part.
The anticipation of seeing what's on them is neat.
Yeah, like when you get the card home and then you're like sitting on your computer, it's like, I swear it's like Christmas when you first plug it in and then you're looking through.
Now they have the ones that come right to your phone.
Yep, yeah. I have one. I'm
looking at getting them too.
I have a Moultrie mobile. It sends it right to my phone. The only thing that I can complain about it, the picture quality is great and everything, but it doesn't send me every single image it takes, which I think it's supposed to, but it doesn't. I didn't know that until just this past week. My SD card was getting full, and you can set it that it'll delete the oldest pictures and put the new ones on. But I was like, I'll just clear it off. Well, I get on there, I start looking through the pictures, and the other day I had a group of turkeys come through, and I only got 2 pictures. I was like, well, they probably just moved through really quick. Well, there was 6 other pictures on there that it didn't send me. I was like, holy smokes. I was like, well, if it's been doing this the entire time I've had it, I could have missed a lot of information back, like in the rut and stuff.
Sure.
I had it on a scrape, and I got this one picture of a buck with this huge split too, and it was a crappy picture because of the fog. And I'm wondering, well, maybe it took more pictures of them. Those pictures are gone now. I'll never know.
Yeah.
And that's the only complaint I have is you can't be 100% sure that's sending you all the pictures. Other than that, it does give you a pretty good idea. I don't know. That's just my only complaint. I haven't tried any other brands other than Moultrie. I'm not really particular on the cameras I use. I have one old Bushnell, a trophy cam from back in 2013, which isn't that old, but trail cameras wise it is. I have a few Moultries. I like my stealth cams. I have a lot of stealth cams, and I recently got started on Browning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Browning makes a really, really good camera. Their cameras are expensive. I think my Brownings are around $90 for one, but they take amazing pictures.
They have good customer service too, because I bought a Browning, and for some odd reason, I don't know if it just got moisture in it, but it wasn't taking, the flash wasn't working on some pictures at night. I just don't know if like it sat out for a while and the cold got in, and sometimes the moisture gets in.
Yeah, there's like a seal, and sometimes that seal breaks. I've had that happen on a camera before, and then the moisture just ruins it.
But I took it in over the summer and kept it inside for a couple months and then threw it back up. I was like, well, it's not going to hurt. Like, it's better than sitting in. Even if I get some pictures,
Right.
It's better than none. And it started working, but I called Browning, and they were like, oh, yeah, like, try this, and then just send it in, and if it doesn't work, we'll send you a new one. Like, great customer service. And usually, like, I feel like these companies that make these trail cameras, it's like some third-party thing that, like, some company is like, oh, I don't know, like,
They just put their name on it,
yeah, and then, you're not talking to someone that actually knows, but I actually had someone who works on the cameras, like an actual, like, sales rep. And you could actually understand what he was saying, too, which is a big help.
That helps,
I hate when you call customer service.
They don't speak the same language as you.
And I was calling about the editing software we're getting the other day, and this lady, I don't know where she was or whatever, but there was, like, this really loud just humming. And I couldn't even understand what she was saying. I said, ma'am, I can't understand you. I can't hear you. Like, I don't even hear your voice. And so she, like, called me back 3 times, and I just quit answering. Because I'm like, you can't help me if I can't hear you. It's a little off-topic rant, but...
Yeah. So what kind of camera brands do you use mostly?
Oh, my gosh, I don't even know. We have, between me and my buddies, I think we probably have 12 to 14. And honestly, I'm not picky. If I find one at Cabela's or something and we just get them. But I know we don't have any Brownings because that is one I know we don't have.
Well, if you're looking to get a good one, I mean, I've had some for 2 years now. I mean, cameras don't last a lot. I've noticed that, like, if you can get a camera to last 4 years without screwing up, that's pretty good. And the last 2 years they've been doing really well. So I recommend those. I haven't had luck with Spy Point. That's just me. I haven't had luck with Spy Point.
Yep, I know someone who has 2 Spy Points, and they're pretty good, but I've had guys that got those, they're like $100 for the cellular ones, and they sent them back. They just didn't work.
I know the same thing, yeah. I've had 2 different guys I know have trouble with this cellular ones. Well, I didn't do it yet because I'm just not sold on them yet.
The Tacticams, the reveals have been, like, what I've heard are the best. My friend has one up at college, and he shows me the pictures, and they look crystal clear. It goes from 12 to 26 megapixels, but the higher resolution you get, the less pictures you get because it just takes more energy and data to send the pictures. But just crystal clear. They send all the time. He said the camera works right, and I looked at the reviews, and they say, like, that's supposed to... They're a little more pricey. I think they're like $120 a camera, but I want to get one just because, like, there's a lot of times I hate when you put the card in, or you forget to put the card in, or you don't turn the camera on.
I hate that.
Or, like, the other day, I had this one camera I stopped and picked up. I forgot to take the card out. I took the card out and ended up putting the card back in. And I get home and I put it in, and it's, like, old pictures that I already had. I'm like, I didn't even take the card out. And then, like, right before the season, you only have so many times to check your cameras, really. And plus, like, during the rut, if you see this buck showing up at your stand, like, a night or two, or he's getting close to daylight, you're like, well, maybe I should go sit here. Because how many times you, like, open up your camera card and then you're like, oh, there's this nice buck, like, daylight in front of my tree stand. Should have been there, or he was there 2 nights before.
And it also sucks, though, I've had it happen. I've had a mulch mobile over top of a scrape 20 yards from my stand, and I couldn't get out that afternoon because we were chopping corn. I wanted to go out, but I couldn't. It was a nice night, and the one buck guy I wanted to shoot came right at my stand, hit the scrape, and walked by. I was like, oh, my God.
They could be a curse, too. When for sure.
And then you're like, oh, no. Like, you're sitting there, like, while you're working, like, oh, no.
I know a lot of guys say how, like, they got so addicted to it. Like, they'd be at work just, like, waiting for the next, like, next camera or picture to come through. I
could see how that could happen.
Yeah. It is addicting. It's like a drug.
Yeah, honestly, though.
She'll yell at me all the time. Emily will. I'll be like, we'll be doing something, and I'll pull out my phone. She's like, what are you doing? And she'll look, and it'll be multi-mobile. She's like, knock it off.
I'm big with watching hunting YouTube videos. Like, that's just what I watch.
Yeah.
And me and Lake will be hanging out. Just like, why are you watching more hunting videos? Like, they're all the same. But I'm like,
So
it's
what
so
do you-
addicting.
What do you think about Tucker dating your niece?
So far, so good.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know about him though.
Yeah, so far, so good.
That's
funny.
good. Had to pick on him a little bit. If I knew how to run these buttons, I would do like one of these effects, but I don't know how to run this quite yet.
Yeah, and who knows what Jaden has saved to those buttons.
Yeah.
Knowing Jaden, you didn't get a chance to meet him, but who knows what could be on them.
Yeah, he did get to see him a little bit before he left. He had to move his truck so Jaden could get out.
Oh, he's a character.
Yeah.
He actually started his own podcast called the Yoasty Toasty Show, and it's just him and his friends just like pretty much BSing about random stuff.
Oh, yeah?
But that's kind of why, we're pretty lucky that like he had this stuff and wanted to do his own thing, because kind of used ours, I feel like, as a test dummy for his, and I'm glad.
Working. Yeah. He's our producer, I guess. I was gonna tell him before I left. I didn't get a chance. Like whenever we start making videos, I want a picture of his logo so I can put it on on the videos.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but it says like under the Farmland Hunter, it says by Yoasty Toasty Studios.
Oh no, I never even noticed.
Yeah, and that's like his
okay.
his brand.
His
I
brand,
guess.
I guess it'd be his thing. So shout out to that.
Yeah.
But
when Jaden, you're listening to this tomorrow, thanks for editing. He'll probably cut this all out because we talked about him before on here, and he
doesn't like it.
He just edited it all out.
leave it in here. Actually, I'll edit it. I'll put it on. I'll edit it.
Yeah, we'll put it back in if you take it out.
Yeah. So, well, this was a good podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate
appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
it was
thanks.
fun.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
See you guys.
See you.